Hi, everyone, and welcome to Studio Chats, a new interview series from Southside Studios, West Virginia, where creativity and community meet in the mountains of Petersburg, West Virginia. I'm Jenny. I'm one of the artists working out of Southside Studios, and today I am joined by one of our incredible teaching artists, Jelise Ballon. Jelise will be leading one of our upcoming embroidery workshops that's part of the Art of Cozy series here at Southside Studios. We're getting ready to talk about her creative journey, her love of embroidery, and what participants can expect from her class. So, Jelise, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Jenny. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found your way into the arts.
Well, I live in Hampshire County, West Virginia. I'm originally from Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, but moved away when I was young and have recently returned home to West Virginia. And I live here with my husband and our four dogs, six chickens, and two goats on our little mini farm. I also have three young adult children. And, I've never considered myself particularly artistic. I didn't feel like I got that talent set in our family, but I've done things like crochet for a long time, and my grandmother on my mom's side was incredibly gifted with a needle and thread and taught me some things when I was little. And a couple of years ago, as I was nearing empty nest phase, I thought, well, it's time to rediscover hobbies again. And I picked up a little embroidery kit for $5 and started, and I just haven't stopped since.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I follow you on Instagram, and so I know that you no longer have you have filled your empty nest. You have done well at filling your empty nest with the chickens and with the hobbies, and you keep very busy, and you're really fun to follow your personal and your creative journey.
Thank you.
So you kind of answered that embroidery was something that you grew up around. Your grandmother really played a role in that, and then you kind of picked it up later in life as a hobby. Do you remember the first stitching project that you did, and do you still have it by any chance?
Well, I know I did. My grandmother did a lot of types of stitching when I was a kid, but the thing I remember her doing most in my formative years was needlepoint, which is a
Mhm.
little bit different than embroidery because you have a plastic canvas. So I did all kinds of really horrible needlepoint projects when I was a kid. But that embroidery kit I mentioned that I bought a couple years ago for $5. It was a Christmas embroidery that said joy, and it had no instructions. This is word to the wise if you want to pick up embroidery. These $5 kits come with no instructions. But luckily, I remembered enough, and Google was my friend. And yes, I still have it. I pull it out every year at Christmas just as a reminder of how far I've come.
Nice. So So let's talk a little bit about your process and your inspiration and the meaning behind your work. Embroidery is often seen as kind of a more traditional craft, but your work feels really fresh and contemporary. So how do you balance that honoring tradition and the craft aspect with kind of keep still while keeping it modern and more artistic?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have some great secret to doing that. I think some of it's accidental because I don't have much in the way of formal training. I mean, I've since done some classes to educate myself and sharpen my skills, but because I didn't start with that, I didn't know all the rules that I shouldn't be breaking that allowed me to just be do my own thing and learn as I went. I am a West Virginia girl at heart. I love the mountains, so I'm heavily inspired by the landscape around me. Most of my thread paintings are landscapes because I'm just so inspired by the beauty. But I'm also a Gen Xer and I have a very sarcastic sense of humor. So I also love to throw in the occasional humorous stitch and do some things that are a little bit more modern. I think I just do it. I just do things that I enjoy, and I try not to worry too much about what other people are looking for or what they like. Sometimes I do get caught up in that when I'm setting up at markets. But if I focus on that, it takes the joy away from me. So I just do the things that I enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And so many of your pieces that I've seen, the more artistic pieces that you have shown here at the gallery and there and Cape and Bridge at the River House, and the pieces that you have been sharing online recently have really had like a lot of storytelling behind them. So how do you think a stitched piece of art can tell a story?
Yeah, I love that question because as you know, I recently had an opportunity to enter a piece in the Appalachian Literary Arts and Storytelling Festival
Mhm.
in Athens, Ohio. And what I loved about that is they put out a call. It was a reverse ekphrasis contest. So whereas so often we read writing that's been inspired by art, they were flipping that on its head and they had excerpts from Appalachian writers and poets and songwriters, and artists were asked to create a piece based on that. And I'm a big fan of Anne Pancake, who's a West Virginia girl as well, and her book, As Strange as This Weather's Been. And so when I saw excerpts from her novel, I just couldn't wait. I think, celebrating how stories are told in a variety of ways, not just in the written word or verbally, but through songwriting and poetry, and also visual arts. There's some really powerful stories that are told through art. And I follow some incredible artists on Instagram that are doing great work with their art, both as through activism, and also just telling their stories of who they are and their generations. And I think anybody who's from West Virginia in this area, we're steeped in storytelling and the stories of our hometowns and our ancestors. And so yeah, I think that however you want to tell your story, whether it's visually, writing it, singing it, we have to keep telling our stories in the ways that are most personal to us.
Yeah. I love that. And that has just been one of the greatest joys of starting Southside Studios and meeting artists and hearing the different ways that they communicate and tell the stories. And I just, especially here in Appalachia, the stories are just so rich. So it's just been such a joyful thing to get to experience that. And I just am so crazy about the piece that you produced, that you referenced, and we are definitely going to link to it in the kind of links that we share about what we talk about today, because I think everyone should check it out. It's just so gorgeous. So I really appreciate all of that. So let's talk about the class.
Yes.
Um, what can participants who enroll in the embroidery class here at Southside Studios with you expect during the workshop? And anything you want to share about what the experience will be?
Yeah, I mean, I've taught before, but I'm really excited about doing this two-part class because it's going to give students an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into learning different embroidery stitches. And so, the first class, we're going to focus on 5 basic stitches, and everybody's going to have a design that they can choose from, 2 original designs that I created just for this class. One is kind of more traditional autumn with a pumpkin and flowers. And then there's one that's a little bit more modern. It's a sugar skull. So students will be able to get started after the first night working on that project. And then in day 2, we'll learn another 6 stitches. So by the time both classes are done, you'll have 12 stitches. And then we're going to talk about, how some folks might be happy to purchase other people's designs and kits, and that's great. But I couldn't wait to create my own designs when I started embroidering. So I want to empower students to be able to do that as well. So I'm going to go over some techniques for how you can do that, transfer designs onto fabric, and also talk about just some tips and tricks to how you might want to finish or display your pieces, and then really just hopefully encourage students to create something that they might display at Southside Studios in the art show that the Art of Cozy is culminating in.
Yeah, I love that part of this series, that folks are invited um, to submit a piece of work that they either create during the workshop or using techniques that they learned during the workshop to our gallery show that will happen in December. Um, Tell me a little bit about what excites you about that as an instructor.
I really love it because I started selling my work and exhibiting before I had any business doing it. I was a very young in terms of just starting out with embroidery, but I was creating so much and you can only give away so many things that I didn't know what to do with it. So I thought, well, I'll just try selling and see if anybody wants it. And I was so embraced by the local arts community here in Hampshire County and encouraged. And I just want everybody to be able to experience that, no matter what age or skill level you are. I want people to be encouraged to create and do what they love. You don't have to have been doing it for 20 years. You don't have to have gone to school for it or perfected it. Just do what you love. And I love that Southside is encouraging young makers and creators and giving them an opportunity to share their story through whatever medium that they enjoy doing.
Yeah, I love the idea of, um, so many people come in for classes and say, but I'm not an artist. I'm not, and to open that door to say, here's a very gentle way for you to gain a new skill and then show off that skill that you
Yeah.
have gained. So I'm so excited about that. And I hope lots of people will take the opportunity to do that and to exhibit alongside of the instructors in that show. I think it's very exciting. And I just want to say the workshops that we've had so far, we had the weaving workshop, and it is just such a lovely experience to sit with people and be creative. And the conversations that happen, it becomes a very social thing because you're learning together, and then there's quiet time while you're working. But the conversations that bubble up in this shared creative experience is just so much fun. So I hope people will register, and we have snacks and goodies, and it's just such a fun time to learn together and to engage in creative activities together. So I just love that part of it too.
Yeah. And I second that. I took the weaving class from Kiki and I loved it. And I've got a piece that is not great, but I'm going to submit it to go
Yay!
in the in the gallery because I just think, uh, just taking time to embrace art and learn new techniques is something we should all be doing. Not only to continue these traditions, but to just invest in our own creativity in a world that wants to tell us how to think, with AI and all the things happening in the world, I feel like more and more of our creativity is being taken away from us and becoming computer generated. So anything that gives us a chance to tap into that, I think is beautiful. So I'm really excited about these upcoming classes.
Yeah, me too. Well, thank you so much. Well, thanks for chatting with us today and for bringing your warmth and your creativity to the studios here at Southside Studios. For anyone watching, Jaleesa's embroidery workshop happens on November 6th and 13th. Those are Thursday evening classes. There are still spots left to register, and you can find all the details about this class and all of the activities happening at our website, which is southsidestudioswv.org. We'll add a link. And just navigate to the events section on our website where you can learn more and register. Like I mentioned, we'll share any links that we referenced today. And oh, I forgot to ask you, we'll add the link too for where can folks find you to see your work and to learn more about you if they want to follow along with your creative journey.
Yeah, well, thanks, Jenny. My business is That's the Point Fiber Arts. So you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. That's the Point Fiber Arts. And online, I have a small online shop and upcoming events. That's thepointfiberarts.com.
Great. And just the last thing before we close, I'd love to ask, do you have any kind of creative ritual, something you do that helps you get into the flow, that others might help or might help others at home to find their creativity?
I think for me, it's really important to be comfortable. I think also you get to a certain age, and that is true about life in general, but I just get as comfortable as I can wherever I choose to stitch, which is often my living room couch. Surrounded by dogs and, put on comfy clothes and slippers and good lighting. And that's kind of my, if you want to call it a ritual, but the steps I take and then just dive in and get lost.
Yeah. Getting comfy is a big part of being purposeful, like
Yes.
setting the intention for your
Yes.
work. Like, okay, we're switching to this now. So
Yes.
I love that. And I that totally qualifies as a ritual in my
Okay,
mind.
great.
Well, thanks again, and thanks to everyone for tuning in to Studio Chats. We're going to try to do this a little bit more regularly and share the stories behind what's happening here and the art, all the art and creativity that happens right here in the Potomac Highlands. So until next time, keep creating and stay cozy. Take care, Jelise.
Thanks, Jenny.